Well, welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I'm Pam Maldonado with Kelly Stewart, aka Kelly in Vegas. We are bringing you all the analytics behind the NFL contest bets. Kelly, my girl, it is week 5, and we have found a bit of a groove. Can I say that? Back-to-back 4-1 weeks. It was my best bet, my Jags. They did me dirty. They didn't cover the 6.5-point spread, lost by 8, having 5 turnovers. I still think it was the right side, because if you are turning the ball over that many times and still almost covering, then I'm going to say that it was just play that game 10 times. It's going to happen. 14-6 on the season. After having only 5 4 weeks last year, we now have 3 in the last 4. What do you think is different this time around compared to 2021?
I just think that, well, we're not agreeing, which is funny. Somebody commented, like, ladies keep disagreeing. There's not a lot of agreement. So I think we're canceling out a lot of games, and we're finding some of those under the radar type games. And I'm with you on the Jags last week. I had Eagles and Survivor. And let me tell you, me and my partner, Chris, were reeling really early. And so I thought I knew better. And then I was actually at Lambeau, which would have been our other option to take the Packers. And they almost lost in overtime. They kicked the game-winning field goal. So either way, Survivor would have advanced. But happy to get to see my best bet go wire to wire as a double-digit dog. Well, I guess not in the contest, 9.5, but still, yeah, I do believe your Jags are the right side. And I think that is exactly what we're doing. What we did last year, take my best bet, your best bet. We didn't figure out till week 5 or 6 that's how we were going to do it.
Right.
So I think that starting off early and just locking in 2 bets almost immediately has been really helpful. And then just finding those other 3.
So somebody actually left a comment on the YouTube, and this show would be better if you went through all of the games. Just to clarify, this is not a betting show. We're not going through each week NFL slate and saying this is what we like against the spread, over unders, props. We're looking at exactly 5 games that we like
do
to
you know
put.
how long this show would be if we went through?
If we did that, this would be like a 3-hour show. Like it's a soap opera, especially if we don't agree. Well, Kelly.
Okay, how about this, YouTube? If you guys can find us a sponsor for every single Friday that's going to pay us, we will go through the entire NFL slate, and I will make
100.
time.
Yes, I will make time for that.
But
YouTube, y'all have a duty. Go find us a sponsor.
And we will go through all of it. But as of right now, it'll take forever.
It's not even about like going through every game. You mentioned it that you and I have not been agreeing on anything. I'm not trying to convince you of, hey, Kelly, come over to my side. You're not trying to convince me of, hey, Pam, come over to my side. We're trying to put together a list of there's 12 games. Well, we only agree on 5, 6, 7. Let's maybe come up with our card from that selection, because it's along the lines of what you said, think long, think wrong. I don't want to try to convince you of something that otherwise you never would have taken. I don't want you to try to convince me of something that I feel strongly about. So it's really just about finding a compromise. Your best bet, my best bet, and 3 games trying to compromise is a hell of a lot easier than like, hey, now we've talked ourselves into 12 other options when we initially only had 4. So it's complicating the issue by trying to do that, I think. So, I mean, it's working. 14-6 on the season. As mentioned, we already have 3 4-1 weeks in a 4-week so far. It's working for us. So just a reminder of what it is that we are doing then is we are making 5 against the spread contest picks each week in the NFL. Now, just to clarify, these contest picks, they're released every Wednesday. They're set lines. They don't change. So we're trying to play with that. So it may be different come kickoff, but we're going with what we have. Kelly's best bet automatically in, my best bet automatically in, and then together we try to find some commonality to find the rest of the 3. We are both 3-1 in our best bet, 6-2 combined. That's really good. Kelly, your best bet was actually my best bet this week. So I went ahead and pivoted to another one so we could have 2 different ones. Yours is the Cardinals +5 at home to the Eagles. Go ahead, give me your reasoning.
I'm going to start off with this week as a whole. I think this week looks disgusting. I don't love anything this week, and I could have also pivoted and came up with a secondary best bet, which we'll probably talk about at some point in time. This was just a really tough week as far as situations go, teams going into a bye, teams coming off of a bye. There's a lot of different things that I was looking at. I do, however, think that this Eagles team that we bet against last week in the contest with the Jags, and as you mentioned, was the right side, is probably getting a little overvalued once again. Listen, this team has benefited from +8 turnovers
Mhm.
so far this season. I know the Cardinals have had a little bit of fumbleitis, and I hope that they can keep those under wraps on Sunday. But if the Eagles can't win the turnover battle, I think this is going to be a key to the Cardinals being able to at least cover, if not win the games. As far as the defensive side of the ball, I need the Cardinals to get to Jalen Hurts. If
Right.
you can put pressure on this man, it is going to
Lights
be a
out.
great day for them. He's going to make mistakes, and we've seen him do that prior. One of the only quarterbacks that's been sacked more times than him, Joe Burrow. And I do not think that this Eagles team deserves to be this big of a road favorite here. That's why I think we've even seen it come down from 5.5. Probably going to even be 4.5 by kick. I know a lot of really sharp guys that are on this side as well. Again, I don't love this play, Pam, but it reminds me of when I look at certain lines and
Mhm.
the way I like to keep track of things. Remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the Colts, and I said, and everybody was like, "You're an idiot, you're an idiot," and I said, "Oh my God!" And there goes 5.5, 5, 4.5 throughout the week, and it closed 3.5, and the Chiefs lost the game. I would love to see that happen again here with the Cardinals. I'm not sure I'm going to get to the window with the Cardinals on the money line, but I do like them in this spot. I know traditionally they play better on the road than they do at home, but they got it done for us last week. I just want them to play 4 quarters. This
Right.
first half nonsense that they've been pulling has been really frustrating. I was on them twice so far this year, both on the road, and got the win, got the cover. But at home, in order to beat the Eagles, you can't start down 14-0. And
Mhm.
that's my only concern, really, with this team is that they are such a great
Well,
second half team.
there's actually you can start down 14-0 against this team because one of the reasons why I liked the Cardinals. I'm not claiming this as my best bet because I went ahead and found another one that I like instead. But to agree with you on why I initially liked it was because the Eagles, because they've been so dominant in the first half, they've actually let their foot off the gas in the second half. So either it's they've been so dominant or they are just not a second half team. If you're looking at the offense, in 4 games that they have played, they have only put up 14 points against, and that was in week 1 against the Lions. I'm sorry, yeah, 14 points in the third quarter. They were shut out in the fourth quarter against the Vikings, shut out in the entire second half. Against Washington, shut out in the entire second half. And the only reason why the Eagles put up 9 points against the Jags last week was because a fumble led to a field goal, an interception led to a field goal, and a fumble led to a touchdown. So they were turnover points, not because the offense was doing anything. That potentially, if you're going to be a 6 point road favorite, you've got to be able to put up some second half points. And either it's because they don't feel like they need to because they're going to win, or well, whatever the reason may be, it is a potential problem. So that's how backdoor covers are created because of situational spots like this. They also have Dallas next week. Who's more important on their schedule? An Arizona team that's losing or Dallas that's looking pretty good right now without its starting quarterback?
I'm with you. That's a great situational spot as well that I neglected to mention. Listen, I also think Jalen Hurts. Congratulations to him on his early successes this year. But I need everybody to stop trying to hand him the MVP trophy just yet.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that. I'm still like fade Eagles all the way. So I do love your Cardinals +5 at home for multiple reasons. My best bet that I'm going to go with is kind of on the flip side, Cowboys +5 at the Rams. This wasn't you only sent me 3 games.
I
This was
hate
not
this
one.
week. I'm telling you.
This was not one of them. But this just seems like I'm talking about situational spot for the Eagles. That would be my worry. Situational spot for the Eagles that next week to Dallas is a lot more important. Well, Cowboys are also potentially looking ahead to next week because they face the Eagles. However, they're in an underdog role, not in a favorite role. And in my opinion, they still have to keep that momentum that they have right now with the backup quarterback in Cooper Rush to catapult that into next week, whether they have Dak Prescott or not. But this is purely Dallas defense against Matthew Stafford. That's what I am thinking of. That only four of 44 total opponent possessions against the Cowboys have been a touchdown. That is the second best in the league. And that includes they've played against Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. Cowboys, second in NFL in pressure rate against Matthew Stafford, who has been sacked 16 times this season. 7 times against the Bills, lost 31-10. 7 times sacked against the 49ers, lost 24-9. This is a game for the Dallas pass rush. You're going to have linebacker Micah Parsons, defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, 6 sacks to Joe Burrow in week 2, beat the Bengals 20-17. Very well could happen here. It is this offensive line for the Rams. It is absolute garbage.
Yes.
And are they
That's you
going to
nailed
fix
it.
themselves? Are they going to fix itself in a week? Do the Rams play better at home? Maybe the answer is
No.
yes to both of those things, but I need to prove it to me against literally the best pass rusher in the NFL right now.
Yep.
How are you going to
LA
handle
just
that, Stafford?
I'm with you. LA just 1-5 in their last 5 home games against the spread. They've been terrible at home. You nailed that O line. That is the biggest problem here. I know lots of talk about Matthew Stafford's elbow, but if he doesn't have time and he doesn't have space, how in the world are they going to get this offense going? As somebody who has Cooper Kupp on their fantasy team, I would love to see Stafford be able to launch it downfield, but you nailed it. This rush defense for the Cowboys is really stepping up, particularly Micah Parsons, as you mentioned. I do think that they're going to have to try to run the ball to open up this offense, and I don't know if the Rams can do that. And I'm with you here. I lean the Cowboys plus the points. It was on my long list, but I just initially kind of just had to cut it back. I told you before I've tried to be more disciplined in the NFL
Right.
because I have done so well over the last few years with just my best bets. And then next thing you know, I
Right.
add things like the Washington Commanders. I'm like, oh, they're the right side here in this divisional road. And guess what? Now I add another L to my list for no apparent reason. So
You
the Cowboys
every
was on my
week you
list.
said every week you sent me the Commanders, and I don't even consider it. I'm like, nope, just like ignore complete
Well,
everything that
that's
you.
how I felt about the Jets last year. So I don't blame you. Someone's got to talk me off these trash teams because that's exactly what the
Oh my
Commanders
god.
are.
And you can look at the Cowboys week 1, they lose to the Bucks 19-3, but that was the game where Dak Prescott did actually start for most of the game, and that's where he got injured. In comes Cooper Rush, who was absolutely not prepared. You're just not prepared for a situation like that when your quarterback goes down in the first half of the game. And then we've seen the improvements that they've made since. The play calling has been spectacular. I think they've really utilized they've understood the situational spot that they're in, the offense for the Cowboys, of knowing that we just need to keep things tight and we're
Yeah,
not going to
I
go
think Kellen
crazy.
Moore's done an excellent job
Conservative.
with what he's got. Yeah, I mean, you have to play with what you're given, and we saw
Yeah.
it last weekend in Lambeau with Bill Belichick. With Bailey Zappi. All of a
Right.
sudden, I was planning on it being Brian Hoyer saying too many points, and next thing I know, 3 plays in, I've got basically a rookie quarterback going, oh shit, what do I do? My bet's down in flames, and everybody's texting me, are you going to live bet the Packers? And I said, no, I'm going to trust Bill Belichick. And while
Right.
I don't trust Mike McCarthy, I do
No.
trust Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore.
And I
Yeah.
think he's done a really great job with this offense. Again, given what he's been dealt with and what we've seen from Cooper Rush has been nothing short of incredible.
And if I don't trust the offense, maybe they can play from a I'm not sure how they'll handle a play from behind spot, but I do trust this defense for the Cowboys. And if they know that the offense is lacking, then it's going to be the defense that steps up and maybe gets some takeaways, maybe gets a defensive touchdown, puts the extra pressure onto Matthew Stafford. I love the Cowboys defense against Matthew Stafford. So those are our 2 best bets. Kelly is going to be rolling with Cardinals +5, which was also initially my best bet. And then instead, I'm going to be rolling with the Cowboys +5 at the Rams. Now, the games that you and I don't agree on, I'm not even going to talk about Washington because no. Because the answer is no. It is always Carson Wentz no.
Yeah,
Let it be a reminder of, like, do you really want to bet on players like last night for the Colts and do Matt Ryan all those interceptions? No, I don't. So I'm not going to talk about Carson Wentz as an option here. We're doing so well. So instead, let's talk about some games that I liked. And what do you think? Initially, you had the Saints, I had the Seahawks. So maybe we don't even have to touch that. I changed that from my best bet, actually. Okay, so then 49ers, -6.5 at the Panthers. Now I know that the 6.5s are really weird and like, why isn't it 7? This line opened 6. It got bet up to 7. Still weird. Sure, but it just seems like such a mismatch in my opinion. Like, how is this just not like a bet it and forget it type of thing? Because the San Francisco defense, it is so strong, and I underestimated it, sure, but I'm a huge believer now that 41% of the drives against San Francisco have been 3 and outs. The league average, that's 41%. The league average is 20%. San Francisco defense has yet to allow a touchdown in the first half of games this season. 0 red zone trips in the first half in 22 possessions. That is fucking insane. The Panthers offense, pretty damn anemic. 6 touchdowns, 6 total touchdowns, and 46 total drives. That is tied for the lowest rate in the league. The Panthers offense is averaging only 5 plays per possession. That is the fewest in the league. That means this team is getting sacked, they're turning the ball over, or they're punting it away. Am I missing something?
You're not. This
Other
San
than
Francisco
Jimmy G being a yes or no sometimes.
He's definitely a no a lot of times. He definitely is frustrating to back. I'm with you on this defense. This defense should be able to get at Baker Mayfield all day. We know that they're one of the worst offenses in the league. My question is what are we going to see from Christian McCaffrey? Is he going to be able to run against this team? And that's where my big question mark is. Now, Todd Furman told me back in the day at Don Best, I remember laying 2.5 on the road, which is one of the scarier lines in the league, and they just absolutely obliterated whichever team it was. And I come into the office on Monday morning, fat smile, against all the sharp guys, and he goes, keep betting that road chalk, kid, and see how rich you get. And ever since then, I've kind of been a little adverse to betting road chalk. That doesn't mean I won't, but for the most part, it's got to be a really special moment.
That's how I feel.
And that's kind of how I feel about this game. By all means, on paper, it looks like the Niners should roll. Absolutely be able to beat up on this Panthers team. I don't really have anything good to say about the Panthers, and that's the problem. So I don't have an argument here as to why Carolina +6 would be an alternative. This is a Panthers team that Matt Rule is just getting a ton of grief over. He may even get fired. I mean,
I was exactly going to say
God's sakes, they paid him $62 million. They had Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, and now Baker Mayfield. And they basically didn't realize that McCaffrey got ran to death at Stanford. We'll see what ends up happening here. I don't love the Carolina side, so I would say San Francisco is a play. I think we can put it down on our list and see what else we agree on.
You're talking about Christian McCaffrey. San Francisco is number 1 in opponent yards per pass attempt, yards per rush attempt, and McCaffrey is rushing. He's evading tackles on only 18% of his carries. That's 38th in the league. That means he is getting sacked and stopped more often than not, spending more time on the ground than he is getting pulled away. 2022, this season so far, he has only 3 carries of 15 yards or more. The San Francisco defense has allowed against 14 different running backs. They've only allowed more than 50 yards to one player, and that was Denver's Javonte Williams. McCaffrey seeing more of a passing role. If you can't get the run going, then you're going to have to rely on Baker Mayfield. I don't like Baker Mayfield against the San Francisco pass rush.
I don't either. My only caveat for the 49ers, just looking at my notes, remember that back in the day, right? Now we're in 2022, so a little bit different. West Coast teams going east on a short week after a divisional game was a terrible bet. It used to be just almost an auto fade. Anymore, with the advent of technology and obviously private jets and things that like these teams get a fly on, that'd be the only like asterisk I would put next to the 49ers.
Okay.
And that's just the thing is like I wouldn't even call it a hard fought game. They absolutely smoked the Rams.
I think they can win like 23-7. Like it's going to be a boring, low scoring game. I don't expect. I'm not saying at all that the offense here for San Francisco is going to light up the scoreboard or anything. No, I think it's going to be just like one of those sloppy and like, oh look, they won 16-3. Like,
and there are 7s out there. I'm looking on the odds screen right now. There are 7s. So at 6.5,
and this line didn't open at 6.5. It opened at 6 and it's been bet up.
Right, and that's kind of a good sign there as well. And us getting 6.5 in the contest, not 7. Makes me very happy. I could see this one landing on 7 and late to the party bettors.
So
get the push.
Let's go ahead and see. We'll put it on our queue. what
Okay.
then do you think about I kind of like favorites this week, which is crazy. I'm just like
The
you.
only favorite I liked, you like the other side.
I actually love the Seahawks. I really do. We won't talk about that though since you are on opposite side. But the Bucks, we can talk about it later just for the YouTubers who want to hear the reasoning. But for the okay, how about the Bucks -8.5 at home to the Falcons? People are so high on the Falcons, and I get
They've
it.
covered every
They
game.
I get it. They're the only team that is perfect against the spread. I get it. But now we just saw the Bucks get torched. This is where it's coming from. We just saw the Bucks get torched on the ground versus the Chiefs. Nearly 200 rushing yards allowed, 5 yards per carry. That's the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs the Falcons? That game though, if you look at it, that was over in the first play. The Bucks had a fumble, opening kickoff, Chiefs
Yep.
touchdown, and it went all downhill from there. Never able to recover. What's the likelihood that the Falcons are gonna be able to put up Chiefs numbers? I mean, ask yourself, are they even in the same realm of possibility here?
No, and I think Mariota's really prone to mistakes. My big thing here is that I mentioned I love those road divisional underdogs, and I would love to play the Falcons here, but they've been horrific in Tampa Bay. Just 2-9
Yeah,
in their last 11. Granted, it wasn't with Mariota. Granted, it wasn't with Arthur Smith. I have my concerns about Tom Brady,
I don't.
and you don't have any concerns about
The
maybe his
divorce.
focus is elsewhere. And I've been saying that. I said this in February they were getting a divorce. When he said he was coming back, I'm like, oh, he's sick of Giselle's shit already. Sure enough, I got called a sexist, and now here we are in October, and my man's getting a divorce. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. But I have my concerns not only with the injury with the Buccaneers, with Tom Brady, with being able to get this offense going.
Right.
And you nailed it with the Chiefs last week. I said I didn't want to bet Tom Brady in prime time, but I didn't want to bet the Chiefs, and they absolutely rolled. This is like a almost like a buy low situation, because
Yeah.
normally if the Bucks were in mid-season form, not injured, not Tom Brady getting a divorce, I think this line would be like closer to like 12 and a half, 13.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
because this is a Falcons team that's getting a little bit more love in the marketplace because of their recent successes against the spread.
They no longer have their running back in Cordell Patterson. He's a Swiss Army knife for this team. And you're talking about how bad the Falcons have been in Tampa. Well, Brady has been great against Atlanta. In 4 games with the Bucks, he has 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. With with Brady behind center for the Bucks, they've outscored the Falcons 153-96. And now, as mentioned, Patterson is out he's the main running back for the Falcons. He accounts for half of the total rushing yards and half of the rushing scores. Mariota, he's been good. I'm talking about consistent and like maybe he's not going to mess up a lot, but he has only 3 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. His pass attempts have been dropping each and every game. We went from 33 to 26 to 20 to 19 last week against Cleveland. Well, if you are in a play from behind situation, you no longer have your running back in Cordero Patterson. Now you're going to have to throw the ball. We're really going to see what they're made up with. And this defense for Tampa, before the Chiefs game, everyone was talking about, myself included, how stout and elite this defense is for Tampa. But then they face Mahomes, and all of a sudden it looks like Swiss cheese. It's Mahomes.
I would agree with that. I do think this defense is still very strong. As I mentioned,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to see their injury report right now to see if we're really getting anybody back. Lots of questions. Julio Jones still questionable. We knew Akeem Hicks has been out.
Questionable means
Nothing.
they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, Brashad Perryman looks like he's going to be questionable as well. Obviously, they have Mike Evans, so that's really nice. Carlton Davis III did leave the last game. He is a question mark here. I'm not going to sit out and say that he's like some great cornerback, so I don't think it really matters that much.
And
Yeah,
Atlanta has a pass rush, but it's not a Chiefs pass rush. Like they're serviceable, just like 3/4 of the league. So I don't expect Brady to like wallow up over here and die on the floor like we saw. I think it's good. I think this is minus the off-field issues. This is a get right spot for the Bucks. Buy them low
yeah,
because they should, on paper, destroy this team like they have all 4 games that they've played. But you can put it on the queue.
yes.
Um, Okay, so there's only two other games that I really liked. One of which is the Bengals plus 3.5 at Ravens is what we're getting for the contest. The Ravens 0-6 in the last 6 home games, 2-5 against the spread as a home favorite since last season. The Bengals' 2 losses came against the 2 best pass rushers in the NFL. TJ Watt in week 1, 3-point loss to Pittsburgh. Michael Parsons in week 2, 3-point loss to Dallas. Baltimore is neither of those defenses. And so what happens when you don't pressure Joe Burrow? Last week, 9.3 yards per pass attempt. Baltimore's allowing 7.5. That's 22nd in the league. Joe Burrow can absolutely exploit this secondary because it is still last in the NFL against the pass. Burrow against Baltimore last year, 416 and 525 passing yards, 7 touchdowns. Do I expect him to light up the scoreboard again? Potentially not. Those are like really strong, but it could, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. But scoring defense, what was the best thing about Cincinnati last year? This defense was so strong. I think the entire season, I made this bet in the Super Bowl. That's why I remember the Cincinnati defense in the third quarter, I think led up something like 7 total points the entire season. And that's what Cincinnati's doing again this year. They're allowing an average of 3 points in the second half of games. Baltimore is allowing 17. So even in a play from behind situation, the Bengals can definitely come right back up because
Well,
of how
yeah.
bad this Baltimore defense is.
Dude, the Baltimore defense, I haven't wanted to break my TV in a really long time, Pam. Like I joked when I was at the Barstool Chicago office, like I've really like learned to like relax and not, I wanted to break my phone. We're driving to Lambeau and I've got the Ravens game on and I just wanted to chuck it out the window onto the interstate. I was so mad after what they did to me against Miami. And then last week, another double-digit lead blown at home. This team does not win games at home. They're 0-5 at home at 3 in the hook. Cincinnati was on my list at +3. My only caveat, and the reason why I said, yeah, I'm just going to pass here on Cincinnati, which I do agree with you on, is just because they have been not that great in prime time. And that does scare me. But these AFC North games are always 3, it feels like. Obviously, now that the Steelers aren't as good and Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback of the Browns, those are going to change things. But when the Steelers had Big Ben, it didn't matter if they played the Browns or Ravens or the Bengals, the line was 3. And so 3 in the hook here is really, really appealing to me. I just, that's my only concern with Burrow. I will say this offensive line looked better last week just because they were allowing him to just get obliterated in the backfield. He got sacked 13 times in his first 2 games. So only being sacked 3 times last game, I think is like an improvement. Now, is that going to carry over to this week? I hope so, because I do like the Bengals as well.
So I like this at 3.5 because for the other contest, the line is 3, but in this contest that you and I are in, it's 3.5. So I was like, how do I not put this in for that
I like
extra
it too
hook value?
Yeah, I'm with you on the hook. This looks like a 3-point game. Either team, flip a coin to figure out which team wins.
Do you want to go ahead and plug that in?
Yes.
So then we have 3 improvements here. And then I only had one other game that I liked, another favorite, but it is, other than the Seahawks, I liked the Chargers -2 at the Browns. Now, this is for a very specific reason. That Cleveland, similar to the Ravens, we're talking about how you can come up from behind against this team. They're giving up double-digit leads. Cleveland has allowed 50 points in the fourth quarter of games. That is the most in the league. They allowed 13 points from Atlanta in the fourth quarter, lost 23-20. They allowed 17 points from the Jets in the fourth quarter, lost 31-30. Justin Herbert is better than the Falcons and the Jets. Justin Herbert, is he injured? He looked fine last week, 69% completion, nearly 9 yards per pass attempt, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I know it was against Houston, but I'm looking for health, and he looked like he was healthy. When the Browns faced the Chargers last year, Herbert threw for 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, even against extra pressure. If the Browns come in from a play from behind situation, can Jacoby Brissett play catch up? He has only 7 of his 20 red zone passing. He's only completed 7 of his 20 red zone passing plays. That's the lowest rate in the league. I don't trust that he would know what to do in a passing situational game. And the Chargers explain to me this line, why it's only 2.
I hate it. I hate this line. I absolutely hate it. I have Herbert as my fantasy quarterback, and I'm already texting my partners like, "Do we start Derek Carr?" like, not on Monday night in Kansas City. We don't. I'd much rather start Herbert here. My problem is when a line comes off 3 and then it goes to 2.5 and then it goes to 2. That is big time money moving that number. I agree. Chargers defense looked great last week versus Houston. Herbert, very happy with his performance.
But look at okay, I don't know where the love is coming from because look at who the Browns have faced. They faced Carolina in week 1, Baker Mayfield.
How about this?
They faced the Jets in week.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. We're going to go with the Chargers. We're not going to overthink this because if I start to overthink it, I'm going to talk us into the Browns, where I don't want to touch this Browns team, as you've mentioned defensively. What happened last week in Atlanta, and every sharp guy, guess who they were on last week? They laid it with the Browns in Atlanta, and here we are.
Yeah. And right. Plug it in.
Okay. Yeah. Chargers is 2-5 in their last 7 home games. Cleveland, just 2-5. They haven't been a good team. They're not a good team. And I think we don't overthink this.
Great. This is single-handedly the best quarterback that they have faced by a mile. So as long as he is healthy, which it looks like he is, in my opinion, we're good. All right. Then I don't know what other game we have. That's only 4. We have your best bet, my best bet. We have Bengals plus 3.5, Chargers -2 with the Browns. And then the only other game that I liked was the Seahawks, which I almost made my best bet. But then I saw that you were on the Saints, and I was like, oh, I took it off. So then I don't know what else.
I am on the Saints. That's tough. Let's see. Let's look at my long list. Cincinnati, Cardinals, Bears, Cowboys, Commies.
I'm not doing Commanders.
I don't blame you. So we already got the Cowboys locked in. Do we want to look at the Bears?
No.
I don't either. I had them like long list just because 7 in the hook looked really appealing in a divisional game. Any interest? I will say this. So I get a text every single week on who the sharp groups are on, if you will, usually on Friday mornings. And they all said they were laying it with Miami. I don't know how I feel about that side. Don't want to back the Jets, even if Zach Wilson is 100%. I thought that was a really strange number because when you got Teddy Bridgewater, who we've seen just be wildly inconsistent in Denver, but be okay in Carolina. It's tough. Outside of that, I literally have nothing. I cannot. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 5 games I started with this week. Any opinion on your Lions? I know you love this Lions team.
They've had so many injuries, and there's just so many injuries from both Detroit and New England that I don't know what to make of this game.
I think that's fair.
There's just so many question marks that I'm not going to guess.
Yeah, I have a slight lean to the Detroit side just because of how great their offense has been. I will say this. New England's probably going to be the best defense they've faced this year. And that's me watching them just absolutely shut down Aaron Rodgers last week in Lambeau. That defense, particularly with Jones, I mean, he's been great.
So then do you think the line is 3 with or without Jones? Because that confused me as well.
You're talking about Mac Jones. Yeah. I was talking about the defensive guy. What's his name? Maybe it's not Jones. Maybe I'm crazy. I thought he was the guy, whoever got the interception last week against Aaron Rodgers. It was almost a pick 6. But either way, I don't think it matters. I'm not sold on Mac Jones as a quarterback. It looks
I think Bailey Zappi could potentially be a better quarterback than Jones.
I absolutely agree.
But I loved him in college
definitely
too.
Out. He is on the IR, and Mac Jones is still questionable on Friday afternoon.
So then so then we're talking about strength of schedule, right? We're talking about Miami, and you said that there's like a lot of short groups that came in on Miami. Look at the quarterbacks that Miami has faced: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Is Zach Wilson any of those players?
Yeah, no. I mean, he looked okay. Fine, they got the win over the Steelers, but that to me doesn't really say much. He still threw Like New
Four
York still benefited from 4 interceptions.
four
Like that's
interceptions against a quarterback who was thrown in at the second half of the game, who hasn't had any first team reps. Rookie who will be better than Zach Wilson in the long run.
Jets just 1-7 in their last 8 against divisional rivals.
1-7 against the spread or straight up?
Against the spread. They've been terrible against the spread. But that, again, we know what the Jets' former woes have been. I'm just not sure that. So the line goes from 6 to 3.
Well, that was because of no Tua.
Correct. I am not going to say that that's not correct. I would say Teddy Bridgewater is a 2.5 3-point drop off here, but I do think he is able to provide a stable quarterback play. Like he has a decent quarterback IQ. He has 2 great stud receivers in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
Right.
I actually really do like the Dolphins here. Again, as I said, pretty adverse to road chalk, but Miami's covered 7 of their last 8 versus the Jets. And New York is just 1-7 in their last 8 at home. Like we're asking New York to win this game.
This was not at all on my list, but you want to plug it in because think long, think wrong.
I agree.
And is Zach Wilson again, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson? Are they? Anyone?
No.
Anyone?
No.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
This card went sideways.
Ugly.
If we pull out a 4-1 with this,
everybody's gonna hate us. Wait, you guys, you thought the YouTube comments were bad last week. Wait till this week, and they're just like, "Oh my, ladies." Okay, so we've got the Cardinals.
Because I can't think of anything else. Yeah, so it's Cardinals plus Kelly's best bet, Cardinals +5 at home to the Eagles. My best bet, Cowboys +5 at the Rams. And then the 3 that we came up with combined is the Bengals +3.5 at the Ravens, Chargers -2 at the Browns, and the Dolphins -3.5 at the Jets. This is not at all what I expected our card to look like. However, I cannot think of anything else. Like, I hate everything. I liked the Colts last night, and I almost messaged you, like, do you want to get a card in early so we could put the Colts? And look how fucking horrible that was.
Dude,
6
I had no internet starting at 2:00 yesterday, and I was obviously a little upset because I had other shows to do and things of that nature. And then I'm like, oh my God, now I don't have to watch because I only have streaming service. I'm like, now I don't have to watch this ugly Thursday night game. And then of course it comes right on right before. I can't believe I had to subject myself to that field goal fest. Shout out to anybody that had no touchdown, 66-1.
I know,
I had
it's
a couple
awesome.
of different like former clients of ours text me. I'm like, thanks for texting me beforehand. I would have at least
know,
had
right?
something to cheer for then because it was such a terrible game.
I wish I had that one. I totally wish I had that one. There's really nothing else I can think of. I can't back the Bears just because you can't throw the ball 4 times in a game and expect to cover. I don't know how that happens. Washington, never Washington. I already said I'm so confused on what to think of New England and the offense and all that. And the only other game that I like is San Francisco. That would be the only other one. It's such a mismatch on paper for me that would be it. And then Seattle. I love Seattle. Those are the 2 games. So you're opposite on one and then don't love the other. So at least with this one, you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, listen, I think definitely we agree on the Bengals. They were on my long list. And actually, they were at the top of my list till I wrote Lamar bounce back, double revenge, only play Baltimore in the first half. Is literally what I wrote next to it. I said, if I was to play Baltimore, it would only be in the first half. I do agree. The 3 in the hook is really enticing. Yeah, I'm with you because I did lean towards Atlanta early on in the week. Obviously, the Lions moved against me, so going to stay off of that one. Yeah, I'm with you on the Dolphins. And what was our 5th?
The Chargers -2 at the Browns.
Yeah, I know that's just like the squarest game on the board, but I don't care. I don't care. This is not a Browns team that I'm willing to back.
Well, then this is our 5 against the spread contest picks. Cardinals +5 at home to the Eagles. Cowboys +5. Did I say that right? Cardinals +5 at home to the Eagles. Cowboys +5 at the Rams. Bengals +3.5 at the Ravens. Chargers -2 at the Browns. And the Dolphins -3.5 at the Jets. You and I usually love underdogs, and we got 2 favorites. So that's interesting. So we'll see what happens. Kelly, we did it. We'll see what if we come up with 4-0 and a discard. Hey, you know what? Then our system is definitely working. So do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at KellyInVegas. You can follow me at Twitter and Pamela M35. And that's it. Fingers crossed. The ugliest card that we have is probably going to be the one that
I
goes
got
5
all
and
the
0.
things crossed. I got my legs crossed too. Because you're right. This is a very ugly card. This is not traditional of us at all. But you know what? There are those weeks where the books get crushed. The road chalk comes in, and it looks like that could be this week.
Fingers crossed. All right, that is it for another episode of Sack of Stats. Do make sure to follow on YouTube, subscribe, like, and leave us your comments. What do you want to see more of next week? Do you like our card? Do you hate our card? Let us know. But that does it for another episode. Thanks, Kelly, my girl. I will see you next week.
Wait.